Welcome to part 2 of day 17 of our epic 40-day 2025 Pacific Northwest road trip as we continue our exploration of Crater Lake National Park in Oregon. We continued our circumnavigation of the Crater Lake caldera, viewing the Chaski Slide, Phantom Ship, and meet the old man of the lake. After viewing Wizard Island, our boat entered into Chaski Bay, a significant geographic and geological feature in Crater Lake. It is primarily known for a massive prehistoric landslide, the Chaski Slide. The bay contains the largest landslide deposit on the lake floor, and the slide is responsible for the unique scallop shape of the southern caldera walls. The slide occurred approximately 7,500 years ago, shortly after the catastrophic eruption of Mount Mazama. It covers an area of roughly 2.8 square miles. Eagle crags are a prominent geological feature above Chaski Bay and are known for their striking colors, ranging from shades of yellow and buff to orange and bright red, caused by ancient sulfuric volcanic gas activity. Mount Mazama was a volcano built largely by explosive andesite lava flows. The caldera walls expose a layered history of past andesite and dacite lava flows, representing the older, destroyed parts of the mountain. Talus slopes are a defining geological feature of the caldera walls. These slopes are composed of large angular rock fragments and boulders that have broken off the steep cliffs and accumulated at the base due to gravity. Chaski Falls is a seasonal waterfall located in Chaski Bay.
Really calm down. It's great, actually. It's a beautiful day. So if we look ahead of us, do you see this green shelf? It's kind of like halfway up, then it turns brown above that. This is called the Chaski Slide. Chaski is another Klamath Native American god. And imagine the top of this green ridge here. 5,000 years ago, that was at the top of the rim. And then 5,000 years ago, it slid, that entire half of the hill slid all the way down and stopped where it is. And giant, massive boulders, the size of Crater Lake Lodge, rolled down to the bottom of the lake, and they're still down there. We can see them with depth readings. So a massive slide, so big actually that it created kind of a tidal wave that swept across the lake. And we know that because we found little lake organisms like plastered to the wall on the other side of the lake, like way higher than they should be. So yeah, Chaski Slide, about 5,000 years ago. And the reason it's so green on it is because snow piles up on that shelf in the winter really deep. And then throughout the summer, it slowly melts out. You can see we still have some snow over there on the right there. Slowly melts out and kind of filters down throughout the summer and feeds these waterfalls, which actually last throughout the entire summer. So we'll be able to get up really nice and close. So, and I just have to point one thing out. On this right-hand waterfall, at the bottom, once the boat turns, you'll be able to get a good view. There are some baby shorebirds, which are really cute. They're kind of white and fuzzy.
I'll stand up here if you like.
The falls are primarily viewable from the water via boat tours. While they can be seen from a distance from certain rim overlooks such as the Sun Notch Trail, there's no direct hiking trail that leads to the base of the falls. The waterfall is most prominent during the late spring and early summer when snowmelt is at its peak. By late summer, the flow may diminish significantly or disappear entirely.
Absorb the blues. They just scatter the blue wavelengths. And those scattered wavelengths, the blues and the purples, they eventually come out of the lake and reach our eyes. So if you don't have any pollution or sediments in the water to reflect other colors back, then you'll just get pure water that reflects only blue. And that's why it's just so blue here.
Crater Lake's intense blue color is caused by extreme water purity and depth. Because the lake is fed only by snow and rain and has no inlet rivers, it lacks sediment and mineral deposits that typically turn water green or brown. The depth provides a deep basin for the light scattering to occur, creating a deep blue hue. The color is most vibrant in the middle of the day with high sun, appearing more brilliant with clear skies. Although the color can change slightly based on the angle of the sun, wind, and cloud coverage, it is often described as one of the clearest and deepest lakes in the world, often called the bluest lake. There was still substantial snow when we were there in late August. Crater Lake National Park is one of the snowiest inhabited places in the United States, averaging roughly 44 to 52 feet of snow annually. Snow often accumulates up to 15 feet deep by spring, and the winter season lasts roughly 9 months. The park typically receives snow in all 12 months, and the rim frequently sees higher totals than the park headquarters. Our next stop was the Phantom Ship.
And here we're coming up to the Phantom Ship.
Alright, we're coming up here on a mysterious formation of rocks named the Phantom Ship. The Phantom Ship, because during the full moon it actually turns into a real boat and sails around the lake. It's called the Phantom Ship, named by William Steele, who also named a whole bunch of other things in the lake, like Cleetwood. Because as you're driving around the West Rim Drive, it kind of sometimes seems to disappear into the edge. Like you can't find it, and then it reappears and you can find it again. That's why it's called the Phantom Ship. But this is an amazing rock, because this is actually the oldest exposed rock inside the caldera. This is 400,000 years old, this rock. Which is around the time when Mount Mazama was first beginning to grow, if you remember. So this was, some people say this was actually part of a previous volcano before Mount Mazama even started to grow. And why is it standing by itself? Well, for the same reason that the Devil's Backbone was standing by itself. This magma cooled on the inside of a volcano very slowly, developed those big rock crystals, and so it made this really, really hard rock that survived the collapse of Mount Mazama. And then after Mount Mazama collapsed and the Phantom Ship was exposed, it was subsequently boarded by a scallywag crew of trees that are now captaining the ship. There are 8 different types of evergreen tree on Phantom Ship, which is almost every type of evergreen in the entire park, all represented here on this tiny little island, which is really cool. We have some mountain hemlocks. That's this tall one on the right here, kind of reddish bark. And you can tell it's a mountain hemlock because at the very top, it kind of droops over a little bit. You see that? Its branches are very flexible, so that they don't break off when they're covered in snow, just kind of the snow falls off. And they're actually really fun in the winter because they get completely flattened by snow, the small ones. And in the spring, they slowly melt out, but the tip is always still stuck in the snow. And so if you're walking in the wrong place at the wrong time, it might shoot up and slap you in the face. They're kind of fun. We might see some Clark's nutcracker birds here. Usually there's one or two on this little island on this side. I love the Clark's nutcracker because it has a special relationship with the white bark pine, which we also have on the island here. It's kind of a symbiotic relationship. The white bark pine tree has really tight closed cones and will never actually open up and spread its own seeds. It needs a bird like the Clark's nutcracker with a strong long beak to come and peck out the seeds and plant them around the park. So without the nutcrackers, oh, is there? No, that's a different kind of bird. Without the nutcrackers, we would have no more white bark pines. I don't know what kind of bird that is. I don't know. We also have some ponderosa pines. Those are cool because the bark smells like either vanilla or butterscotch, depending on who you ask. To me, I think it depends on the tree, to be honest. Different trees smell like different things. Yeah, there's some kind of pock marks, holes in the rocks. Those usually just from weathering from the structure of the volcanic rock. But there's some violet green swallows that like to make their nests in those holes too. You'll see sometimes. I don't think that's what we're seeing flitting around, but they could be. It's hard to tell.
The Phantom Ship is a small craggy island in Crater Lake National Park. It resembles a 19th century ghost ship with tall masts and drooping sails. It is one of the two islands in the lake and is located along the southern shoreline beneath Dutton Cliff. The island earned its name because it seems to disappear or phantom-like blend into the dark cliffs behind it, depending on light conditions or when fog rolls across the lake. At roughly 400,000 years old, the island is composed of some of the oldest exposed rock in Crater Lake Basin. It is a resistant remnant of an ancient volcanic cone, sometimes called Phantom Cone, that was later engulfed by Mount Mazama. It consists of hydrothermally altered andesite rock. Despite appearing small from the rim, the island is roughly 500 feet long and 200 feet wide, with its tallest spire reaching 170 feet high, the equivalent of a 16-story building. Remarkably, this rocky pillar supports a diverse ecosystem, including 7 different species of trees, such as white bark pines and mountain hemlocks, and various wildflowers like paintbrush and penstemons.
So at that point, the water goes from about 50 feet deep to almost 1,000 feet deep. So this is really just like the tip of an iceberg that goes 1,000 feet down to the bottom of this southern basin, we call this. Yeah, extremely, extremely deep. And you can also see some red and some green on the rocks, and that's lichen. Really seems to have taken a liking to this rock. But the lichen here, it can only, like this particular type of lichen, can only grow in really clean air. So you wouldn't see this lichen in like a downtown city, like Pittsburgh, certainly not Pittsburgh.
The Phantom Ship is covered in vibrant, colorful lichens that appear in shades of greenish yellow, orange, and red, creating a striking contrast against the pink and gray volcanic rock. While Crater Lake is home to over 125 lichen species, several specific types are on the Phantom Ship. These include Litharia vulpina, or wolf lichen, the most conspicuous lichen, which often appears as bright fluorescent yellow-green or chartreuse patches, grows both on the rocky cliffs and on the branches of the island's trees. Xanthoria elegans, or elegant sunburst lichen, which is responsible for the orange and red hues seen on the island's jagged towers. It is a pollution-loving lichen which often thrives on rock surfaces. Diploschistes scruposus, or crater lichen, a pale, crustose lichen with a cracked crater-like texture that grows directly on the basalt and andesite outcrops. Alectoria sarmentosa, or witch's hair lichen, is often found hanging from the lower limbs of trees on the island. This stringy branch lichen is a bioindicator of the park's exceptionally clean air.
Park. We have some red foxes as well that are also listed. Yeah, and a whole bunch of other types of animals as well.
The Phantom Ship is home to limited wildlife due to its sparse vegetation and sheer cliffs. Observed animals include birds like mountain chickadees, osprey, bald eagles, and violet-green swallows, along with marmots and golden-mantled ground squirrels. We next made our way to Sentinel Rock, a prominent bare rock formation located between Skell Head and Care Notch, offering a striking geologic cross-section of the ancient volcano. We stopped there to get samples of Crater Lake water to taste.
All right, we're gonna fill those water bottles. Can I have a couple volunteers to help me carry bottles back and forth? Just maybe 2 people, 1, 2, I think I saw a hand back there. Yeah? Great, thank you. And if you all would take the lids off and hold onto your lid, that'll make it a lot easier. Yeah, I'll just get...
This is where we're going to get some water from the lake and try to drink.
Unfortunately, the containers we had were not allowed to dip into the lake, and thus we did not try the water. Next was Pumice Castle, a distinctive orange and pink volcanic rock formation located on the eastern caldera wall.
Looking at, it's a little bit masked by the smoke today, but is an orange collection of rocks almost towards the top of the wall there. You see that? It has some spires coming up, some horizontal layers too. So that is called the Pumice Castle. Can anybody guess what the Pumice Castle is made out of?
Pumice?
Pumice, yeah, you're right, you got it. It's actually it's pumice, but a special kind of pumice called welded tuff, T-U-F-F. And that is basically when pumice comes out and is compacted under a lot of pressure, it creates that kind of a stronger formation of rocks. And that's why it has withstood some erosion as opposed to the softer rock around it, and it's standing by itself. Sometimes we get a call to the visitor center asking, can I book a room in the Pumice Castle for the night? Unless you're a bird, the answer is no. But yeah, Pumice Castle, it was formed, I believe, like around 75,000 years ago. And it's orange because when it came out, it has some iron in it. Whenever you see some orange rock around the park, it's because it has some iron in it, and usually there was also some moisture in the air. I got a helicopter coming through here.
The formation stands approximately 1,300 feet above the lake's surface and is known for its castle-like turrets carved by centuries of wind and water erosion. Unfortunately, the position of the sun left the formation in the shadows. This is the best I could do to bring out the colors. This is a photo from the U.S. Geological Survey website. We next set out towards the center of the lake as the old man of the lake had been spotted there.
Straight up and down for at least 130 years, because it was first documented officially in 1896, I think it was, 1896. Yeah, it's a mountain hemlock tree that is about 35 feet tall. The top, maybe 4 feet, are sticking up above the water. And it's just been floating around, straight up and down, for we did some dating on it, some carbon dating, and the tree itself is about 400 years old.
Wow.
So it could have been floating around for 400 years, for all that we know. But yeah, so the old man is fun because, well, number one, he's kind of mysterious. Why is he still floating after so long? Why didn't he sink to the bottom like most logs would, or wash up against the shore? Why is he straight up and down and not floating sideways? He does kind of have like a root ball at the very bottom, so that could be kind of keeping him up and down. And he hasn't decomposed really much at all. And that's probably because the lake is pretty cold and doesn't have a lot of organisms in it to break him down. But he's also mysterious because there are some very mysterious happenings around the old man from history. Including one time, they put a submarine into the lake. And they didn't want to potentially accidentally hit the old man, because he floats around sometimes 3 miles a day, and the lake is only like 4 to 6 miles across. And so you never really know where he's going to be on any given day. Literally yesterday, he was blown up against Wizard Island, and so today he's over here. He goes where he wants to. But they put a submarine in, and they didn't want to hit the old man, so they tied him up against Wizard Island, and almost immediately the wind started picking up. Some clouds rolled in, it started raining. And then one day, 2 days later, it started snowing, like a big snowstorm, and this was middle of August. And the scientists, they were scientists. They weren't superstitious, but they were a little stitious. So they came down under cover of night, no joke, and released the old man. Immediately, the storm cleared up the next morning, but beautiful clear skies. So we try not to mess with the old man anymore if we can. They actually put a GPS tracker on him at the end of last season, and he immediately broke it. So we had to take it off again. So I think he just doesn't want to be tracked. He's like, leave me alone. I was here before you guys.
That is too cool.
Yeah, perfectly.
The old man was situated as far towards the center of the lake as the boat was allowed to travel to.
Of moss around the bottom there. And you actually can't see that moss very many places above the surface of the lake. I'll talk about that at the next stop, actually. But yeah, apparently...
The old man of the lake is a 30-foot tall mountain hemlock log that has been floating vertically in Crater Lake since at least 1896. This spectacle, curious enough to excite the imagination, was first documented by geologist Joseph Diller and has since become a local legend and scientific curiosity. It is approximately 30 feet long and 2 feet in diameter. About 4 feet of the stump remains above the water line. Carbon dating indicates the tree is over 450 years old. It is not stationary and travels extensively across the lake. In 1938, a study tracked it moving over 62 miles in just 3 months. While most logs float horizontally, the old man remains upright. Scientists have proposed several theories for this. First, the submerged lower part of the stump has become dense and waterlogged over a century in the cold water, acting as a natural weight. The exposed top remains dry and buoyant, creating an equilibrium that keeps the log stable and upright. Another theory suggests it may have once had rocks trapped in its roots that acted as a ballast before eventually falling away.
Say bye to the old man, guys.
Bye, old man.
Maybe just straight down. He's almost too far out. That's actually a good picture right there with the reflection.
After bidding the old man a fond adieu, we went back towards the shore to Palisade Point.
Alright, welcome to the final wonder of Crater Lake. We're looking at this outcropping of rocks here that starts about halfway up and has some green lichen on it towards the top. So these are called the Palisades because whoever named them thought they looked kind of like the posts of a fort, like an old wooden fort. Though some people call it old goggles because it looks kind of like the shape of goggles. I think we need a better name, to be honest. So if anybody has any ideas. But this is, at this point, we can finally answer the mystery of why does the lake stay at this level? Why doesn't it keep filling up? It spent 500 years filling up, but then it stopped right here. And the answer lies right below the surface here, underneath the Palisades. There is a collection of giant porous boulders from glacial activity way back. And they're all stacked up underneath here, kind of horizontally. And water is seeping out through them at a rate of 2 million gallons an hour. So a lot of flow is leaving the lake. Every year we get enough snow and rain to fill the lake by about 6 feet and enough evaporation to reduce it by 3 feet. So those other 3 feet, they're leaving right here. And it's a mystery because we don't actually know where the water's going. We've tested, like Crater Lake has a unique chemical and mineral signature. We've tested all this.
Palisades are the most prominent visible part of the Round-Top andesite lava flow. The lava flow is unique because it was ice-bounded, meaning it erupted while glaciers were present on the mountain. The lava rested on the thick layers of glacial till, rocks and sediment left by glaciers, which are still visible beneath the flow today in some areas. The Round-Top flow is over 500 feet thick. The yellow-green coloring on the cliff face is caused by lichens and is referred to as the lichen wall. Dimelina orina, commonly known as the golden moonglow lichen, is a greenish-yellow crust-like placoidioid lichen that grows on hard, acidic rocks. It is highly recognizable for its vibrant color, which comes from arsenic acid in its outer layer, and its tendency to form circular rosettes or halos on stone surfaces. Pleopsidium flavum, commonly known as the golden cobblestone lichen, is a vibrant lemon yellow to chartreuse crustose lichen celebrated for its striking color and remarkable longevity. It is famously one of the slowest growing organisms on Earth, reportedly expanding by only a few millimeters per century. The bright yellow is due to the presence of rhizocarpic acid, which also helps protect the lichen from the intense UV radiation.
But yeah, pretty much everyone who's a seasonal this year has no background. Yeah, nobody has background in science. One guy was a farmer, one guy was a judge, one girl was a lawyer, one girl worked for the SEC.
Our circumnavigation of Crater Lake was now complete, and we look forward to return to the crater rim via the 1.1-mile Cleetwood Cove Trail, gaining 700 feet in elevation.
And there's the trail we're going back up.
That might have been fun. You want to go swim? I think we're going to stop for a second.
And we're trekking our way up. Yeah.
Bidding farewell to the Cleetwood Cove Trail, we headed to our car to have lunch and then continue our exploration of Crater Lake National Park. Mary and I thank you for watching Day 17, Part 2 of our 2025 Pacific Northwest road trip, where we completed our circumnavigation of Crater Lake. Most notable on this portion of the boat ride was the Phantom Ship and the Old Man of the Lake. Any visit to Crater Lake National Park is incomplete without a sail around the lake. If visiting Crater Lake National Park has been a lifelong dream of yours, I would advise waiting until 2029, as the Cleetwood Cove Trail, the only access to the lakeshore, and the boat tours will be closed during the 2026, 2027, and 2028 seasons to address critical safety concerns. These include rockfall scaling and mitigation to remove dangerous rocks hanging over the trail along identified high-risk zones. rehabilitation of the entire 1.1 mile trail, including improvements to trail tread and repair of falling retaining walls, removal and replacement of the failed bulkhead dock with a structurally stable floating dock system and a pier for visitors to view the lake, and finally replacing the outdated and undersized composting toilets located near the marina with new restrooms. The project will take 3 years due to the very short construction season every year. The Cleetwood Trail and surrounding areas are not usually free of snow until mid to late June, and snow can return to the park as early as mid-September. We hope you enjoyed Part 2 of Day 17 and invite you to join us for Day 17, Part 3, where we travel the open portions of the 33-mile historic Rim Drive. A small portion of the Rim Drive was closed due to road construction projects. We will make stops at overlooks that highlight a specific view of the lake, a significant geological formation in the caldera, or an environmental feature.